we were going through the letters of the alphabet. Today, I will tell you some of the meanings of the letter U. So just to clarify, so far we have covered A, A, I, and now comes the fifth letter U. And Tripura has written it for you. I don't know if you can see this. It is a little bit like a three hanging down from a roof. And some of the meanings for the letter U given in the scriptures are that it is Vignahrit, which means the remover of obstacles. It's interesting. So the ancients, they intuitively connected the meanings of vowels and letters with certain effects. One of them being that meditating on the letter U continuously removes obstacles. Now, of course, to those who are very scientific, you know, this all sounds a little bit like superstition. I can appreciate that. However, I always say I'm also quite scientific, and these things, they do work somehow. There is something to them, and perhaps we need to just be open that perhaps in 50 years or 100 years, there will be research into such things. And then we can see, yes, there is a connection between sound and emotion, between certain letters and vowels and certain states of mind. And if you meditate on U, just U, there is this upward movement. Can you sense this? U has something uplifting. That's why in Sanskrit, the word for up is also urdhva or ut. So there is this upward movement with U. You can feel that. And if you're interested in these things, you can experiment a little bit. You try that. If the scriptures say, as I just told you, that U removes obstacles, let's try it. I was always excited about these things. You know, I would see this, I would say, really? All right, let's try it. Right? So to see, does it work? Ooh. And I always felt that there is this uplifting effect. Now, of course, if you're very scientific, you will say, but that's just because, you know, placebo effect. That's because you know about it. That's why it happens. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's something objective about it too, but you have to try yourself. Another meaning of the letter U is kalyana. Kalyana means auspicious. Auspicious. People who are not from an Indian background, they don't understand. What do they always mean when they say auspicious? This notion doesn't exist in non-Indian cultures. Well, of course, in Tibet and Thailand, but I call this Greater India, so to speak. And I don't mean that politically, like Mahindra Bhai, I'm just joking. I don't mean that politically, but culturally, it is Greater India. So they understand this as well. When we say auspicious, they understand what we mean. But people who are not from that Greater India, they don't know what do they mean by auspicious. So let me maybe explain that a little bit. What we mean is that things come together in a way that produces an uplifting feeling. That things come together where there's suddenly a sense like a breeze of happiness, upliftedness. That's the way I would put it. But the beautiful thing is that the word kalyana already explains that. Kalya is the sound. Now, you don't know this because Tripura she's a professional Bharatanatyam expert, and I'm sure she doesn't know this. This is very mean of me to say. Do you know that Kalya is the sound of the birds in the morning? Really? It's the sound of birds in the morning. And ana is the sound, that to speak like that, to express oneself like that. So kalyana means the expression of the sound of the birds in the morning. And that is the best way to explain auspicious. Now, of course, in the UK, you have a lot of people who get up very late in the morning. I have heard this and I've encountered this time and again. But in Indian origin culture, we get up very early in the morning. And then when we hear the sound of birds, you get this happy feeling, don't you? So that is auspicious. You see, that is auspicious. And when you get that feeling in a different context, for instance, when you get it in the context of two people getting married, it's a similar feeling. There's a sense of, everyone wants to bless them, except of course those who wanted to be in the place of the bride, right? So that's a different case. That's why in Christian churches they say, now is the time to object and then you should be forever silent. We don't have this in a Hindu marriage ceremony, but maybe we should introduce it. But apart from those, everyone has this sense of auspiciousness, right? We throw rice on them and then we look forward to the tasty matar paneer and the tasty food and celebrating that and dancing, etc. So can you see the connection to the birds in the morning? There's this celebrating life. And this will be interesting for the academics among you. There are now studies that show to listen to the sound of birds releases positive emotions in you. So there's even research about this now. Sort of the positive hormones probably are released in the brain. And I have no problem talking like this, whether we talk about mind or we talk about brain, it doesn't matter. They are two sides of the same thing. It doesn't matter whether we talk about hormones or we talk about substances or we talk about mind, mental states. These are two sides of the same thing. So highly interesting, Kalyana. And there is a park hereby where we live, where there are birds there. And you have these parks in the UK. I mean, the UK is famous for these parks. So if you want to feel the sense of auspiciousness, go to these parks where you hear birds. Sit there, connect with nature, connect with that all-pervading auspiciousness around you, and you will feel a lot better. Now, the next meaning is quite interesting. I have no explanation why, but U also means vrisha. Vrisha is a bull, a male bull. Don't ask me why. So if you want to say that you are bullish, that we say the stock market is bullish, then we can say, ooh, right? That you feel bullish today. You feel that you're full of energy and you want to do something. You don't just want to sit at home and sulk about the state of the economy. You want to do something. That is also the letter U. Interesting, isn't it? So these are a few meanings. There are more meanings, but these are a few of them. Some of you have requested that towards the end of the session, I repeat the meditation. Yes, we will do that. We'll do one cycle of it, going through the 5 elements. So can you remember some of these meanings of the letters? It's highly interesting. In the last sessions, we talked about what happens when different Sanskrit letters meet each other. This is called Sandhi. When an A meets another A, for instance, when the word yoga meets the word anga, anga means a limb, the two A's merge into one long A, yoganga. Similarly, when the word Krishna meets the word avatara, it becomes Krishna Avatara. So you know all this already. We won't repeat everything, but I'm just reminding you. Similarly, if you have the word Radha and it is followed by the word Atma, which means the soul or our innermost nature, Radha, Atma becomes Radhatma. Then we had different sandhis, not only with A, we also talked about a sandhi with I, if you remember. So if you have the word yoga followed by Indra, it becomes Yogendra. It's quite intuitive. A and I, they merge into A. And similarly, when you have an U following, such as Udaka, which means water, Shuddha means pure, Udaka means water, Shuddhodaka. The A and the U merge into O. And once I've explained all these sandhis, I will be sending you a chart, a list where all these sandhis are there. And then you can practice them again and again and again, because the goal should be, my dears, that you actually know these sandhis, not that I'm just explaining them to you as some kind of strange entertainment, right? So it would be very strange kind, but you see, that's not the idea. The idea is that you know them afterwards. So, but don't worry, I'll be sending you the chart. But what I'm doing here is getting you used to thinking like this. Okay, Shuddha, Udaka, Shuddhodaka. Chetana, Utsaha. Utsaha means enthusiasm. You might know this from Gujarati or Punjabi or Hindi or South Indian languages. Utsaha means enthusiasm. Chetana means consciousness. Utsaha means enthusiasm. Cheta notsaha. A and U, O. Quite clear. Now, the new one for today is when the letter A is followed by the vowel A. So please pay close attention. Dharma and ekata. Ekata means oneness. Dharma, ekata. They merge into A. And this is quite logical, because if you say dharma ekata very fast, dharma ekata, dharma ekata, dharma ekata, you will see the A and the A automatically become A. So it is quite logical also. It is quite intuitive. Dharma ekata, dharmaikata. Dharmaikata. All right? Quite simple. Similarly, so that would mean the oneness of dharma, dharmaikata. Similarly, one can imagine other words like etad, it means this, or esha means he, and if the previous word has an a, they become ai, all right? Then, quite upon the same style, yoga followed by odana. What do you think it becomes? If yoga and ekata become yogaikata, what do you think yoga plus odana becomes? Yoga odana, yoga odana, yogodana becomes o. A plus o becomes o. Yogodana. Doesn't make that much sense. Odana means food. Yoga is yoga. The food of yoga, yogic food. So those of you who don't know me, I like food. Is that fair to say? Yes. But not always yogic food, because yogic food is boring. If it's not made very nicely, it's quite boring. So yogodana is yogic food. I think one of the most revolutionary ideas, because now we are in COVID, right? Most people have lost their jobs. So if you want to have a very entrepreneurial idea, you should create yogic food that is tasty. Ayurvedic food, everyone knows Ayurvedic food, but yogic food. Because you think about it, yoga is so famous. 200 million people practice yoga. Why not yogic food? It's an idea, right? Maybe Millen or Jamin can work on that, because you know they're always looking for entrepreneurial ideas. I'm just joking. Then we have another example, Atma and Ojas. Ojas means energy. The ancient Indian system of the Ayurvedic channels in our body, which is very similar to the Chinese system. At least one thing we have in common with the Chinese, right, is that we have the same channel system. And Atma means the self or the soul, and Ojas means energy. Atma plus Ojas. Atma, Ojas, Atma. Atmoja. Atmojas. Quite simple. So when Chetanaji has a lot of energy, Chetana, Ojas. Chetana, Ojas, Chetanojas. When Devika has a lot of energy, Devika, Ojas. Devika, Ojas. Devikojas. Yes, quite intuitive. Similarly, those who were here with the children's class, Vriksha is tree, Oshadhi means plant, Vriksha Oshadhi, Vriksha Oshadhi, Vrikshoshadhi. Quite simple. All you need to understand these simple rules is a sort of intuition for the sounds. Now, similarly, I believe I already mentioned this. What do you think happens when an E is followed by an E? Quite intuitive, quite logical. If an R followed by an R merge into a long R, then it is logical that an E followed by an E merges into a long E. Sanskrit is very logical. You don't have to remember too many different things. You just use intuition and logic. So if you have Mahalakshmi and you have Ishvari, they merge into Mahalakshmishvari. If you have Devi and you have Ishvari, they merge into Devishvari. Simple. If you have, let me think, Rashmi, for instance. Rashmi means a ray of the sun. And you want to say the Lord of Rashmi, the Lord of the rays, which is the sun, Rashmi and Ishvara. Ishvara is the Lord. Rashmi, Ishvara. Rashmishvara. Quite simple. But when I say simple, I would like you to know it afterwards, my dears. And there's no excuse. You can't tell me that, oh, I'm so old and I can't remember things. No, that's not an excuse, because my oldest Sanskrit student was 82. And by the time he was 86, he knew Sanskrit quite well, really, he did. And not just the Sandhis, he was going through grammar things with me and he knew Sanskrit quite well. So, my dears, there's no excuse. I'm old and my bones hurt. So what? You can still learn Sanskrit, all right? And similarly, we have U followed by U. Guru, Urja. Urja also means energy. Guru, Urja, Gururja, the energy of a teacher. Guru, Urja, Gururja. Uraga means snake. Guru also means heavy. It can also be used as an adjective and means heavy. and this is quite funny because a lot of gurus are quite heavy, aren't they? So, you know, they've sort of taken it literally. Our teacher when I studied as a youth, he had a huge belly. I mean, we used to say, you know, Tripura Sundari also knew him. I mean, Swami Vidyananji. And we used to say, you know, she used to say, how does he had such a huge belly, right? How does he do it? So guru and uraga would be a snake or a serpent. Gururaga, it sounds strange. It sounds a little bit like a different language. Gururaga means a heavy snake, you know, like a python or something. And I suppose that's not something you would like to meet. We once had a case in Zurich before COVID where someone was keeping a python at his home, and then the python escaped in Zurich. It's a true story. And it was a huge mess in Zurich. They had to engage all the local police force, and firemen came and everything. A python was loose in Zurich. So that was a guru raga, right? So these are very, very simple principles, okay? Now, we will start with something that is important in Sanskrit, extremely important. And the children have already done it, and they've done it very well. In contrast to languages like English, which are extremely simplistic, English is so simplistic, it's shocking. I don't know if it says something about the English mind, but please don't take this personally. German is a little more sophisticated than English. Really, it is. That's why a lot of people say German is more similar to Sanskrit. English doesn't really have cases. Yes and no. Yes, you do have cases somehow. But in English, you say, this is a pot, right? Or it's a galasha, it's a pot. And then if you want to say in the pot, you just say in the pot. The word pot doesn't change when you say in the pot. Whereas in Sanskrit, this is called patram. And if you want to say in the patram, the word changes into a different case. And we then say patre. Can you remember this? Patre. Yes, Devikaji, you're very right. Latin, which is a younger sister of Sanskrit, has the same cases as Sanskrit. So I did my Latin studies. So we have the same cases, and some of them are even identical. Patre is in the pot. Griham is your house, like ghar in Hindi, griham. So now can you think, if patram becomes patre, what does griham become? If you want to say you're in your house, just think logically. Can I ask someone, because this is a class, don't be afraid. Can I ask someone, if patram becomes patre, what does griham become? Anyone?
Grihe.
Grihe, right? It's so clear and so simple. And now we have vriksha. It's not a good vriksha, but you know, Tripura Sundari is very proud of her artistic skills. She made this, okay? It's for you to judge. If you want to say, exactly, vrikshe. Vrikshe is either inside the tree or on the tree. And what is a bird in Sanskrit? Any idea? Pakshi.
Pakshi.
There are many words for bird, but pakshi is one of them. If you want to say a pakshi is on the tree, then the word pakshi grihe, and then you add a verb called asti. Asti means is. Like the Latin, because Devikaji, you seem to know Latin, est in Latin. Look how close. Asti in Sanskrit, est in Latin. Then you say pakshi vrikshe asti. The bird is on the tree. Pakshi vrikshe. Now, if I want to say Mahalakshmi is in the house or in the home, what do we say? Please.
Mahalakshmi grihe asti.
Grihe asti. And if we want to say Devika is in the house, logically, Devika grihe asti. Chetana grihe asti. Rajashri grihe asti. Bhirendra grihe asti. I'm just going through some of the names I see here. Mahindra Bhai, or just Mahindra, grihe asti. Can you remember that? Not so
Yes, sir.
difficult, right? So that's what we're learning just today. This is the case where we say that something is in something or on something. This is the case that asks where is something? All right. Now, this is my head. Those of you who practice yoga, because I want to, bring out some of the vocabulary you know. What is the headstand called in yoga? Anyone?
Shirshasana.
Shirshasana. So then logically, what is the Sanskrit word for head?
Shirsha.
Shirsha. And if you want to say in my head or on my head,
Shirshe.
Shirshe, right? It's so simple. You can universally apply this to all words that you know. And I can see that Trisharji was just drinking from his patram, right? From his patram that says, I love NY. And if I want to say that, and I assume there is either water or chai in his patram, so then I say, patre jalam asti. There's water in the cup. Or if it is ushnapanam means a hot drink, patre ushnapanam asti. Or if it's Coca-Cola, then it is patre madhupanam asti, a sweet drink.
I have a question, sorry to interrupt.
Please, yes.
Yeah, so when we were saying about this drink, you said patre jalam asti.
Correct.
And then when the bird is on the tree, you said pakshi vrikshe asti.
Yes.
So which word should be first? Like, for example, vrikshe pakshi asti, or like, I was a bit confused with when you're adding a to a word, is that placed the first or the second? What is the context?
Yes, I understood your question. Now, this is the beauty of Sanskrit, that there is no real need to place a word first or second or third. Why? Because it comes out quite clearly. Look at this. If I say, vrikshe pakshi asti, it means the same thing, doesn't it? If I say, pakshi vrikshe asti, it means the same thing. If I say, asti vrikshe pakshi, it still means the same thing. Whereas in English, it sounds a little strange. It sounds like Yoda speaking. If you've watched Star Wars, if you say, is on the tree a bird, right? It sounds a little strange in English.
Okay, yes.
And you're speaking like Yoda, but Sanskrit doesn't have this problem. So of course, there is a tendency that we will say, vrikshe pakshi asti, but there is no rule like that. So it's so beautiful. That is why Sanskrit poetry is so marvelous, because there is no need to have the word first or the word second. Now I want to push you all a little bit. Does anyone know the Sanskrit word for happiness?
Sukham.
Sukham, wonderful. How would you say there is happiness in dharma?
Dharma sukham.
No, not dharma, but what we just learned.
The dharma. Dharme Sukham.
Dharme. Dharme sukham asti. Do you understand? There is happiness in dharma. What is the word for meditation in Sanskrit?
Manthan.
Dhyan.
Dhyanam.
Dhyanam.
How would you say there is happiness in meditation?
Dhyanam Sukham.
Wonderful. I heard a child say it first. Excellent. Dhyane sukhamasti. Now, yoga means yoga. How will you say there is happiness in yoga?
Yoge Sukamaste.
Excellent. So you're speaking Sanskrit. So we can finish this class and we can all go and have a chai or a coffee at Starbucks, right? So you're speaking Sanskrit. Great. Wonderful. It's so simple, isn't it? In this way, my dears, please practice a little bit at home. You know how to say in something now, and you can use one word and you can say that word is in that. So, of course, I don't suppose that any one of you has a lion at home, but if you do, you could say grihe simha asti. Yes? Or maybe some of you have a very lazy husband, then you can say that he's like an elephant, right? He's just lying around on the sofa. Then you can say that, she's laughing. So you can say, grihe gaja asti. Gaja is an elephant, right? So, and then you can ask your husband, who do you think that is, right? So I'm just joking here, but you can play a little bit, especially when you know a lot of words from yoga. All these asanas that you know, the ushtrasana. What is an ushtra? If you know the ushtrasana,
Camel.
a camel, right? Then you can tell your husband that grihe ushtra asti, right?
Grihe.
But don't be too mean. You know, keep it politically correct, all right? Otherwise, they will answer. Right? So, okay. So, has everyone understood this? Any questions here? Now I'm talking about the grammar part. Any questions? And then we will finish with the meditation again that we did in the beginning. Is it clear?
Acharyaji, does it matter whether, so is it asti, whether it's female or a male?
No. Sanskrit is gender neutral in the sense of Sanskrit is very politically correct. It doesn't matter. No difference. Last one. How would you say there is happiness in Krishna? Anybody? You will get the award.
Krishna.
Krishne Sukhe Asti.
Devika ji said it first, I think. Right. Krishne Sukhamasti. Wonderful. You're speaking Sanskrit. Excellent. So now we will finish with the meditation we did before because not everybody was present. So please again,
Thank you.
remember, dhyane sukhamasti. There is happiness in meditation. So you can first take a deep breath. You know, I always teach this one as well, which is also from the yogic texts, is a deep breath and like that. It really does something. It's very powerful. So the meditation was about the 5 elements. We started by journeying to the Himalayas. Where Kailasa, the king of mountains, resides. So we visually have Kailas in front of us. And at the top of Kailasa is the element of space, the infinite sky. So for a while, we meditate, we concentrate on the sky, the spaciousness of it. We feel, how does the sky feel like? That's the first part. Let us do it for a very short while. The sky is so vast. And now further below, around the mountain, is the wind, the air. You can feel the effect of the wind. Connect to it fully with your senses. If your mind diverts, again come back to Kailas, the king of mountains, and then remember that you are focusing on the air, the wind. And then there is also the sunlight and the element of fire. So then you recognize that and you focus on that. The heat inside you and the link to the sun outside. You feel how that is experienced and how it burns up all suffering. And then below, there is the large lake called the Lake of the Mind, which is Manasa Sarovara. And there you Now focus on the water. You feel how the water is experienced and how it purifies you. Feel the coolness, the texture of the water, the fluidity. And then you finally come to the earth. Below the rocky mountain of Kailasa, there is earth. And that earth has a certain feel, a certain solidity, a certain heaviness. It is that which carries you. It has a motherly quality. It holds you. It stabilizes you. And that earth extends over this entire planet. You can also smell the earth. It is linked with the sense of smell. There's something earthy about that. The earth is also heavy. It is not fluid like water. It is heavy and solid. So like this, you meditated through one cycle of the 5 elements with your senses. And this practice from the ancient scriptures has a very stabilizing effect. Manasa sthitini bandhini. It brings about the stability of the mind. Those who try it again now, or those who hadn't done it before, you probably felt this. It is not just imagination, because you see, we know what the elements feel like. So when we connect to something that is real, which we know, it has a direct effect on our inner experience. So if you want to practice at home, you start with the sky, go to the wind, then you go to fire, the sun, light, heat, then you go to water, fluidity, coolness, and then finally you go to earth. And you meditate upon that, the solidity. And this gives you stability and happiness. If you do it regularly, hope you enjoyed this. And on the 24th and 25th of this month, we are having a retreat. Most of you probably know about this, where morning 7 a.m. till evening late, we will only experience what awareness is, what Sukham Dhyani, joy in meditation is, what it means to connect with our senses and the elements. But not only in a seated position. Don't be afraid, it won't just be sitting. We will also learn how to do this in movement. And Tripura Sundari will be leading those sessions twice a day, isn't it? One in the morning, three in total. She will teach you how to experience awareness, the connection to the elements through movement. Natya and Lasya, how to do it through movement. And it is so beautiful. So I would encourage you to please join for that. And would you just like to say hello? No, she doesn't want to. She's too shy. But on the 24th, 25th, you will have to, right? So I'm just joking. So please, everyone, it would be lovely if you joined. You will really benefit, I think. Let us finish now. And Himaji and Jamin and Milan will convey the new dates. Last point. Some of you have written to me that you would benefit from some meditation instructions in Gujarati. If this is still the case, please write to Himaji or to Jamin or Milan that you would like to have some Gujarati or Hindi explanations, because one of our meditation practitioners, Aruna, has been practicing for many years, and she has really understood Vimarsha, how to acknowledge the states, which is not so easy sometimes to understand if English is not your mother tongue. So if you would like a few meditation sessions with her, or even regularly, please let us know. And she will do it, for example, on a Wednesday. You know, you can look how it is convenient for you. You can do it with her. Online, of course, no one wants to go offline these days, right? So just let us know, yes? And she's really good, huh? She's really understood the how to acknowledge the states and why our states dissolve when we really do that. So please take advantage or benefit from this. So I will leave you now. Enjoy your weekend, please, full of maitri for yourself and for others, full of connectedness to all the elements of nature, full of indebtedness to the rishis, the great sages who gave us all these methods, and full of joy, sukham dharme, the joy in dharma. Namaste, and please be happy, everyone. Farewell.